To implement Article 23.
A comment echoed by Zheng Hinqi, a former member of the National People's Congress Standing Committee. He said the most important thing now is to maintain social prosperity and harmony in Hong Kong. Enacting national security laws can wait until 2017 when the chief executive is returned by universal suffrage, he added. Zheng was also asked to comment on the race for the next chief executive. While he said it would be difficult to predict the outcome, he acknowledged that all three potential candidates, NPC Standing Committee member Rita Fan, Chief Secretary for Administration Henry Tang, and Executive Council convener Leung Chen-ying, are all very capable individuals.
Organisers of the June 4th candlelight vigil at Victoria Park have accused the police of manipulating crowd turnout during the event last night. Chairman of the Hong Kong Alliance in support of patriotic democratic movements of China, Li Chuk-yan, accused the police of closing off a number of entrances to Victoria Park. Participants were therefore made to walk a long way before they were able to reach the venue. Li said many people decided to leave as a result. The police, however, argued that the crowd management measure was implemented because there were too many people in the area. Officers stressed the move was necessary to ensure the safety of participants. The Hong Kong Alliance said 150,000 people attended last night's candlelight vigil. Police put the figure at 77,000. About 200 people gathered on King's Road in Fortress Hill following the June 4th candlelight vigil in Victoria Park. Police later arrested 53 of them for blocking off the street. They were all released on bail this morning, including a woman suspected of stealing a retractable police baton. Kenneth Fong has this report.
Some 200 protesters marched from Victoria Park towards the North Point police station last night after the June 4th candlelight vigil. They were unhappy that the police had extended bail for a group of people arrested during an anti-budget protest rally in March, instead of making a decision on whether or not to take legal action against them. The police prevented the protesters from marching any further as they reached Tin Chong Street, where some protesters scuffled with officers. Some of them staged a sit-in on King's Road. Officers cordoned off the eastbound section of the road. Police took action in the early hours of this morning to clear protesters from the road. 53 people aged between 18 and 61 were arrested on suspicion of gathering illegally, interrupting police duty and attacking officers. Officers also found a retractable police baton on a 27-year-old woman who was among the protesters arrested. The police have collected their personal information for further investigation, and all the arrested have now been released on bail. Kenneth Fung, TVB News.
Looking overseas now, and heavy gunfire and explosions have been heard in the Yemeni capital amid reports say at least 2 people have died in a grenade attack on a pro-opposition military base. Fighting has also been reported in the southern town of Taiz, leaving 5 people dead. The violence comes within hours of embattled President Ali Abdullah Saleh flying to Saudi Arabia for medical treatment after being injured in a rocket attack on his palace. His departure could signal the end to 5 months of anti-government protests, or, as some analysts predict, pitch the country even deeper into political turmoil. Yemen state television yesterday showed a video of the mosque it claims was the site where President Ali Abdullah Saleh was injured. The footage shows debris strewn across the interior of the mosque and bloodstains on the carpets. However, the extent of Saleh's injuries has been a matter of speculation. After failing to make a promised public appearance after the attack, there were unconfirmed reports that he'd been more seriously injured than originally thought. Sources at the hospital in Saudi Arabia say he will have tests before surgery to remove shrapnel from his body. The source said he's also expected to have plastic surgery to mend burn wounds on his face and neck. When the rocket struck, he was surrounded by top government officials and bodyguards. 11 guards died and 5 officials were seriously injured. Analysts say every minute Saleh spends away from his country is one step closer to the end of his 3-decade rule. And this morning, thousands of people took to the streets of the Yemeni capital, Sana'a, to celebrate his departure. But amid conflicting reports, several things remained unclear. The degree of Saleh's injuries, did he leave anyone behind to try and keep a grip on power, and whether he would return at all. And his sudden departure threatens to leave a power vacuum in a country that he's ruled with an iron hand for 33 years. Yemen's acting president, Abdrabbuh Mansour Hadi, is scheduled to meet with members of the military and remaining members of Saleh's family later today.
British and French attack helicopters have struck for the first time inside Libya. The use of helicopters significantly ramps up NATO's operations and is a major boost to Libyan rebels. Russia, meanwhile, regrets having voted for a UN resolution authorizing force and sees the use of helicopters as a prelude to a NATO land war. James LaGilia reports.
British Apache helicopters on the HMS Ocean prepare to go into action over Libya. The attack helicopters struck a military radar installation on the coast and a vehicle at a military checkpoint. The Apaches also hit 2 targets near the eastern oil town of Brega. French Gazelle and Tiger helicopters also struck 15 military vehicles and 5 military command buildings. Military analysts say attack helicopters will allow more precise strikes against pro-Gaddafi forces hiding in built-up areas than the high-flying jets used so far, while reducing the risk of civilian casualties. Critics of the war have warned of mission creep, but NATO has said the use of helicopters would not presage the deployment of ground troops, which Western nations have ruled out. Russian Deputy Prime Minister Sergei Ivanov apparently doesn't believe that. He says NATO is one step from sending troops into Libya in a bid to help rebels remove Muammar Gaddafi from power. Ivanov today said at an Asian Security Conference in Singapore that Russia didn't know that a United Nations resolution it supported to protect civilians and shut down Libyan airspace would lead to a land operation. Chinese Defense Minister General Liang Guangle, who met with Ivanov, kept largely quiet about Libya, but China appears to be moving in a different direction by meeting with rebels for the first time, apparently believing recent events indicate Gaddafi's days are numbered. Libyan rebels yesterday won control of 4 towns in the western Nafusa mountain range, where government forces have besieged and periodically shelled rebel-held areas. But the small rebel force there is unlikely to threaten Gaddafi's hold on the capital Tripoli, 70 kilometers to the northwest. British Foreign Secretary William Hague visited the rebels' de facto capital, Benghazi. He called the National Transitional Council the legitimate representation of the Libyan people, but fell short of calling it a government, as other NATO countries like France and Italy have. Hague said that British efforts to support rebel fighters are in full swing and included providing radios, uniforms, and bulletproof vests. James LaGilia, TVB News.
At least 3 people were killed today when Israeli troops opened fire across the Syrian frontier to disperse hundreds of pro-Palestinian protesters. Israeli security forces were on high alert ahead of the anniversary of the Arab defeat in the 1967 war. Israel had vowed to prevent a repeat of a deadly protest last month in which hundreds of people burst across the frontier and stormed into the Israeli-controlled Golan Heights. Ignoring the warnings, hundreds of protesters approached the fence and the Israeli troops opened fire. Syrian television reported 3 dead and 9 injured. Police swooped on India's most famous yoga guru to break up a fast against graft today. But the action may spark more political headaches for scandal-tainted Prime Minister Manmohan Singh. Authorities used tear gas to disperse the yoga guru's supporters and evict them from a huge tent. A police spokesman said officers detained Baba Ramdev for security reasons, but later released him. Ramdev and tens of thousands of his supporters also went on hunger strikes across India and in several cities in the United States, Europe and Africa yesterday. His campaign has struck a chord with a growing middle class in India fed up with corruption. The Congress-led coalition had been negotiating with him. Ramdev's demands included bringing back billions of dollars in illegal wealth stashed abroad and the death penalty for corrupt officials. Kapil Sibal, a government minister and negotiator, had said he would soon give Ramdev a written assurance, but later he criticised the guru for continuing the protest, despite an agreement with the government. That angered Ramdev, and he announced that his hunger strike would continue until the government acted on its assurances.
And still ahead in the news, food safety scare continues to spread in Taiwan, flooding in parts of Hunan province in China. And Li Na wins the French Open.
Cuddy wages war.
Elevator's broken.
It's fine when I came up from admitting.
Did you take the elevators up? Yes.
Elevators can be capricious.
Leave me out of it.
Someone set a tripwire.
You're hurting him.
That's the point.
What he does is who he is. And the same goes for you.
The only way to win this war is to lose it.
House, Monday night at 10:35 on Pearl.
Just see the reality for themselves. That's why you travel.
Lonely Planet writer Amelia Thomas negotiates her way through Israel's trouble spots.
Why do you need my details?
I'm not a journalist.
My guide has left. We're here on our own now.
Lonely Planet, roads less travelled. Monday night at 9:30 on Pearl.
Step out with Samsonite.
There once was a handsome prince who vowed to rescue a princess and slay an evil ogre. Hey, what's with this picture? The prince is the villain.
How pathetic.
And the hero's an ogre? Shrek the Third. Tonight on Pearl's Movie of the Month.
Welcome back. The Taiwanese food contamination scare has spread to the United States. New York recently recalled a large supply of tainted clouding agents from Taiwan. And in Taiwan, 30 bakeries and restaurants were found to be using a potentially harmful additive, DEHP, in jam and other products. Evelina Leung has the story.
Yusheng Chemical, a Taiwanese company under investigation for being involved in the cancer-causing DEHP contamination scare, admitted that it has supplied tainted fruit jams to 7 factories on the island. The products were then sold to 30 bakery factories and food companies located in different cities on the island, including Taipei, Taichung, Changhua, Yunning, Tainan, and Kaohsiung. Taiwan's health department is now trying to locate all the contaminated products, including puffs and ice cream produced by Yusheng. Meanwhile, food stall owners claim their businesses have been affected by the scare. This bakery owner here said her business has decreased drastically. Meanwhile, in New York, over 1,000 kilograms of contaminated clouding agents supplied by Yusheng have been recalled. So far, the contamination scare shows no signs of stopping, and experts believe losses have now totaled to over 3 billion Taiwan dollars. Evelina Leung, TVB News.
In Europe, Germany has set up a task force to hunt down the source of a highly toxic strain of E. coli that's killed 19 people and sounded alarms around the world. The owner of a restaurant in the town of Lübeck, northeast of the outbreak's epicenter in Hamburg, says he was devastated to learn that one person died and as many as 20 others fell ill after eating at his establishment. He said none of his staff who eat the same food as the customers have fallen ill. Consumers in Germany and across Europe are steering clear of fresh vegetables and salads as a precaution. People in 10 other countries have become ill with the rare bacteria, but most, if not all, had visited or been in contact with people who'd recently been in northern Germany. The exact source of the bacteria is still under investigation.
Now, heavy rain in the middle and lower reaches of the Yangtze River on the mainland has brought relief to the area's worst drought in 50 years. More rain has been forecast, and parts of Hunan province are now under the threat of flood waters. At Luxi in Hunan, some 150 millimeters of rain over a 12-hour period has swollen rivers and streams. Flood waters have inundated fields and damaged crops. The homes of many residents have also been affected. Meteorologists say more rain is in store for Hunan, Jiangxi and Anhui. Authorities have also urged people in parts of the southern provinces to be on alert for rainstorms and possible landslides. Now back locally, dragon boat rowing teams consisting of disabled and able members today showed off their skills in Shatin. Tomorrow, 5 teams from the region will compete in Saikong for the first time as part of this year's Chun'en Festival celebrations. Jacqueline Peng has the story.
At the stroke of the drum, the calm waters of Shingmun River in Shatin came to life. Buckle up and off they go. The rowing teams consist of both disabled and able participants from NGOs in Hong Kong, the Chinese mainland, Taiwan and Macau. They will race against each other to the finishing line tomorrow at Saikong. Despite the heat, participants cheered enthusiastically for their team. The event is designed to provide the disabled a chance to interact with other members of the society.
After this, they learn how to develop their self-confidence or self-recognition. I think it's more important is to give an opportunity for them to let other people to understand them more, because every people, including the disabled, if we give them chance, they can develop their potential to the fullest extent.
Sam Leung from the Hong Kong rowing team studies at the College for Adult Special Education Needs under the Neighbourhood Advice Action Council. He learned how to get along with others while practicing with his teammates. Assistant Training Coordinator Lok Yat Hay explains how the disabled can play the sport.
Some of them, they are the hearing impaired and also the vision impaired, so they need to feel the water. They have to feel the water and feel the vibration of the drum, and also they have to work together.
Participating in the dragon boat rowing competition doesn't only teach them a lesson in discipline and teamwork. It also teaches them how to integrate better into the society. Jacqueline Peng, TVB News.
And more sports action with you.
We haven't got anything quite as exciting as the dragon boat racing, but other exciting stuff. China is still celebrating Li Na's historic win at the French Open. The 29-year-old from Hubei province became the first Chinese player to win a Grand Slam tennis title. And as Jameson Wong tells us, there are hopes Li's success will spawn a tennis boom in the country.
This tennis club in Beijing was one of the many places where Chinese fans were glued to the TV. This is an historic moment, said this man. China has such a long history, but many people have little knowledge about tennis. But now we are standing on the peak of the tennis world. While this person said there will be great influence in China from Li's victory, hope shared by the history maker herself.
I think maybe China, not like Sweden, they have many top 1 player growing up, but I still believe China tennis were getting bigger and bigger.
As for when Li can expect a hero's welcome, she says that will have to wait until after the next Grand Slam, Wimbledon.
I didn't have time to back to China right now, so I will back to China after Wimbledon. So if I didn't do well in the Wimbledon, maybe people forget me already.
Judging by these fans, forget you, not a chance. Jameson Wong, TVB News.
To football, and England came back from 2 goals down to salvage a 2-2 draw with Switzerland in their Euro 2012 Group G qualifier. The half-time score at Wembley was 2-1 in favour of the Swiss. But 6 minutes after the break, England equalised. Ashley Young came on for Frank Lampard and had a telling impact in the second 45. Despite dropping 2 points, England remain on top of the group after Montenegro were held to a 1-1 draw by Bulgaria. In ice hockey and the Vancouver
One's taste. That's because she's making sculptures out of cabbages. Ann Choi takes a look.
There's more to vegetables than just eating them. Just ask Beijing-based artist Zhu Duoqi, who creates her works of art just using cabbages. Entitled The Fantasies of Chinese Cabbage, her pieces depict glamorous-looking women in seductive poses, like the kind found in glossy fashion magazines. Her inspiration? The 38-year-old says she started using vegetables in her work 5 years ago, when she was looking for a way to merge art with her everyday life. But don't think finding the right cabbage is an easy task. Zhu often spends hours in the market picking out the right cabbages to reflect the curves of a woman's body or the limbs. And as the vegetables rot, she says, it brings a different feel to her art. Cabbages come in different sizes and colors, Zhu said. Under different light and in different contexts, I can make cabbages in various forms and take photos of them that produce different moods. But much of the magic of her quirky art doesn't stop there. My creation is not a recording of reality. I use photography to create something new. As my works are all different from one another, each one requires a different amount of post-production. While Zhu's pieces can be a tad wacky for some people's taste, she's got plenty of fans. The cabbage lady looks very graceful, said this man at a high-end Beijing gallery. The artist makes full use of the cabbages to shape the different parts of a woman. It's vivid and delicate. Her admirers aren't limited to just the mainland either. Zhu's art has been shown in London, Paris, and the US, with pieces selling for thousands of US dollars each. News which might just turn some people green with envy. Ann Choi, ATV News.
That's our main news for Sunday night. I'll be back with headlines in 1 hour. I'm Jeff Tang.
And I'm Hailing Chan. The weather report is next with Ann Choi. Thanks for watching ATV. Good night.
Good night.
明天高考就开始了，教育部